As I walk down Balcones Creek, just outside of San Antone, I want to take you back in time, 130 years ago. In 1894, the term Bigfoot hadn't even been coined yet, but stories of strange creatures, wild men, hairy giants, wood devils were already being told. These were the terms folks used back then to describe what we now call Bigfoot or Sasquatch. What I'm about to read is a newspaper article from 1894 documenting one of these early encounters. It's a fascinating glimpse into how sightings of these creatures were reported long before the famous Patterson-Gimlin film of the 1960s. Even further back, Native American tribes had their own stories of mysterious large, hairy beings. These stories passed down through the generations tell us that these encounters have been happening for hundreds of years across vast regions of North America. So as we explore this historical account together, keep in mind, it's not just a modern phenomenon. The mystery of Bigfoot has deep roots in our history and culture. Enjoy. I uncovered this newspaper article from Wayne County Herald, Honesdale, Pennsylvania, Thursday, August 23rd, 1894. A giant wild man at large. He terrorizes the inhabitants of the West Branch Valley. The Gallatin Gazette is responsible for the following hair-raising story about a giant wild man who is said to be terrorizing the inhabitants of the West Branch Valley. Notwithstanding, the Gazette neglects to add an affidavit to the story. We print it for what it is worth. It says, last Sunday, forenoon, Judd Burroughs' boys, whose home is in Dry Hollow, 5 miles west of this place, received a scare that will not leave their memories while they breathe the air of life. After breakfast, the boys went to pick some blackberries for their mother, accompanied by the family dog. They were picking away unconcernedly near the edge of a thick piece of woods, not far from the house and but a short distance from the high bank at a river's edge, when they were suddenly startled by the awfulest yells, mingled with cries of pain from their dog, that they had ever heard. Wondering what was the matter, they rushed out of the briars to a spot of clear ground, when on looking up, they beheld a sight that temporarily froze their blood and struck their limbs with palsy. For a few seconds they were rooted to the spot, bereft of the sense of speech and means of locomotion. The fearful sight that met their eyes was a giant, about 7 feet in height, from whose nude body from feet to head grew long matted hair. In one hand, at arm's length, he held the large dog as easily as a boy would hold a stick of candy. Luckily for the boys, the dog's cries of pain restored them the use of their legs, and they hollered loud for help as they fled homeward. With an indescribable screech that raised the echoes for 3 miles distant, the wild man flung the dog after the retreating boys, rushed to the river, and in 2 bounds from the 20-foot high bank, cleared the stream and disappeared. In the afternoon, a party of armed settlers started in search of the wild man, but through his trail was plain they failed to find him. Last Monday, several men got a glimpse of him from a distance, but did not attempt to molest him. He is described as a giant in size, with high, broad shoulders, extraordinarily long arms, large head, and his whole body covered with thick dark hair. He is probably the same wild man that was reported as having been seen over near Hulls last spring. His appearance has set this part of the country in a commotion. Mr. Burroughs' dog was found in a pretty dilapidated condition. Several of its ribs were broken in the giant's grasp, and its hide is fearfully punctured from the wild man's fingernails. Wow, what an incredible account. This story is from 130 years ago, 2 lifetimes ago for most people. It's fascinating to think about how much has changed since then, especially the way stories were written and shared. The word choice, storytelling style, and cadence of the article feels so different from how reporters write today. It's a window into a different time, when people's words carried significant weight, as there were no cameras or recording devices to document events. Back then, eyewitness testimony was as valuable as capturing something on video today. If someone shared an account with a reporter, they were often asked to sign an affidavit, a legal statement verifying the truth of the story. This affidavit served as a stamp of approval, ensuring the account's credibility. Interestingly, this particular story begins by noting that no affidavit was included. That doesn't surprise me, as people sharing accounts like this were often ridiculed or made fun of, much like today. Many individuals were reluctant to tell their story for fear of public backlash. Something about this story struck me, especially if you're familiar with the work of David Paulides, a researcher known for studying mysterious disappearances. He frequently notes how many missing person cases occur while people are berry picking. Coincidentally, the boys in this article were doing just that when they encountered the wild man. Another detail that aligns with Paulides' observations is the proximity to water. The article mentions that the encounter happened on a high riverbank. Paulides has pointed out that many people who vanish are near water, whether it's rivers, lakes, or streams. These reoccurring patterns raise an interesting question. Could there be a connection between Bigfoot sightings and these strange disappearances? The family dog plays a crucial role in this story, as this ties into another trend I've noticed in Bigfoot encounters. These creatures often seem to dislike dogs. There are countless accounts of Bigfoot injuring or even killing dogs, and unfortunately, this case is no exception. The creature injured the family's dog, adding an unsettling layer to the encounter. What's fascinating is how the dog's cry seemed to jolt the boys out of their freeze response and into flight mode. It was as if the dog was urging them to run, run. The freeze response is a powerful survival instinct that activates during terrifying encounters, when neither flighting nor fleeing seem possible. Imagine coming face to face with a grizzly bear, or in this case, a wild man. In situations like these, the body instinctively chooses a third option: total stillness. This deeply rooted biological reaction is a last-ditch effort to avoid provoking the threat and to increase the chance of survival. Many people who have had Bigfoot encounters describe experiencing this same paralyzing feeling. It's as though your body knows that moving or running might escalate the situation. Your only hope is to stay frozen, to become invisible, and hope the threat loses interest. The article describes the wild man in a way that feels eerily familiar. It matches the thousands of other accounts from people who have claimed to seen these beings. These similarities across so many reports are hard to ignore. This story from 130 years ago is more than just a historical curiosity. It's a reminder that encounters with mysterious beings have been happening for generations, even without modern technology people found ways to document their experiences. When we compare these old accounts with contemporary stories and research, it's clear that these phenomena span across time, geography, and culture. Well, keep searching, keep questioning, because the answers are out there. Until next time.